Welcome back to another episode of The Last Safe Space. This is MBT's brand new podcast all about the grassroots ecosystem and specifically about grassroots music venues. We are no nonsense, straight talking, data driven. That's what we're all about. And I'm joined today by my lovely co-host, Sophie, who is the venue support team manager. Thank you so much for coming on today.
Thank you for having me.
How are you feeling this morning?
All right, thank you. Yeah, it's nice to be able to sit and have a chat with you.
Yeah, thank you. You too. Do you mind just explaining to everyone what your role is at MBT?
Yeah, so venue support team manager, we have a amazing group of coordinators, which is the team that I manage and run. So we have Aled in Wales, Stina in Scotland, and Lloyd and Jay who cover England. And the coordinators are like our frontline service for the membership. They're their first port of call. We deliver the emergency response service, but we also are the charity's kind of ears to the ground of how the venues are feeling. It really helps kind of drive a lot of our strategy, because I see our kind of role as like a kind of early warning system when we start to see trends coming up, and then we can often come up with a lot of ideas of how we could build resources or create tools which are going to help the membership, as well as delivering that like immediate one-to-one support to help bring a venue out of an emergency.
Awesome. Thank you. And it's obviously very fundamental to what we do here. So I think it's helpful that everyone gets to know your face. But Sophie's going to join me today talking about, the roundup of the last week and everything that's been happening. So this is where we bring you all the latest from across the grassroots sector, the policy shifts, the crisis cases, the campaigns and the community wins that are keeping our sector alive. So, it's been a busy few weeks across the board, from government consultations to rights management challenges that seem to just keep coming, and some brilliant stories of resilience from our venues as well. So let's just dive straight in. The first thing I wanted to speak about was that the government has opened a new consultation on modernising the licensing system, following on from the licensing task force recommendations. And it's focused on alcohol sales and the on-trade. So that's pubs, it's restaurants, it's nightclubs, and it's all entertainment under the Licensing Act 2003. So, Sophie, I guess what I wanted to ask you is, what does this mean for grassroots venues, and how are we responding as a charity to that?
Well, I think it's an exciting opportunity because it's long overdue. We have always campaigned for better understanding about what grassroots music venues are and the services that they're providing. And fundamentally, they often get kind of grouped in, particularly in local authorities and certainly through the Licensing Act, where alcohol is seen as a kind of fundamental driver of what those businesses are and what they provide, whereas you and I know that they're cultural spaces, they're community spaces. And so licensing reform presents an opportunity for us to kind of consider a greater understanding about what cultural organisations within the nighttime economy are providing. So we have seen some really positive initiatives come up. So the GLA is bringing together a kind of pilot where the mayor can call in different licensing decisions. So that creates another layer of advocacy potential, where when we're making a point about why a grassroots music venue might require greater flexibility within their license, because often additional hours on top of their license can be the make or break of financial viability. It is about the sale of alcohol, but it's not purely about that. It's about underpinning the cultural offer. And so if the mayor had more greater calling in powers, it would mean that they might be able to overturn decisions if there is a body of evidence about the kind of cultural value of granting those licensing rules. And we've also seen, really excitingly, Brighton and Hove City Council, a local authority that we've worked really closely with in the past, is writing their licensing strategy at the moment. And it's an open consultation, which they've invited members of the public and organisations within the city region to kind of add their voice to, and so we've added ours. And I think it's the first time that I've seen they have created within their kind of matrix of hours and their licensing considerations, grassroots music venues, their own distinct category. So that means that they will be considered within their own merit system rather than being kind of like just grouped in with places which are like purely alcohol led, which is amazing.
That's really exciting.
It's really cool, isn't it? So yeah, more of that basically.
Awesome. Thank you. Well, I guess alongside that, there's been a major political announcement. The Shadow Chancellor, Mel Stride, has said that the Conservatives would scrap business rates for pubs and shops if elected. Mm-hmm. What's our take on that as a charity?
Well, it's obviously much needed. The business rates system is enormously kind of, again, outdated and requires reform. They are, there's a number of points which MVT has always campaigned upon about the kind of suitability of the current business rate system for grassroots music venues, and it's just not really fit for purpose for our sector. The way in which the kind of footprint of these buildings and their capability of making money is considered alongside other sorts of high street businesses just doesn't work for grassroots music venues, because again, it's not just there's so many parts of a grassroots music venue which aren't generating income. It's not like a whole big open bar or a whole big open shop. There's green room space, there's a stage space, there's office space, there's storage space, and the way in which it's calculated is just kind of really, really inequitable. Like, it's maybe that's not the right word, unequal kind of it basically it needs reform. And so that's why we've been pushing for, again, exemptions within for grassroots music venues and more greater relief. And so when the relief changed and we wrote to government about what the impact of that was going to be, I think it was about £7 million additionally that the sector had to find when they changed the relief system from 75% down to 40% recently.
Yeah, I guess if pubs and shops are included as well, it's vital that grassroots music venues are. And these are small community-driven spaces, so they deserve the same consideration. So I guess we'll continue to work on that with a cross-party to make sure they aren't left out. Well,
I hope that, when one party makes that their part of their mission statement, and then they see a popular kind of like support of it, then other parties will have to pick it up as well within their own manifestos.
And, business rates reform has been a sticking point for quite a long time now, hasn't it? So this could be a pivotal moment if handled properly. So fingers crossed. Moving on to crisis service, which is obviously absolutely your area. Sorry about that. Let's talk about what's happening on the front line. So, the venue support team has been working on a few really tricky cases this week. One in Sunderland facing a neighbouring planning application. Yeah,
actually this one is a planning application which has been resubmitted, was successfully objected to. And now the applicant has put in another for the same site with a new noise report, which just again is not, we're going to make an objection based on technical grounds because the noise report is just simply not good enough. We never say this should not happen because it is purely because it's a residential next to a venue. There should be ways in which communities can grow and new residents can move in, and venues want more customers, they want more footfall. Like, if there was going to be a block of flats and you're going to get loads of new families and new students and young people coming in and like driving up an area, great, but not if they're going to be put into like really poorly built houses which just are not fit for purpose because somebody did a noise report which didn't survey the venue, and then that means that the windows aren't going to be good enough. They've put balconies where they shouldn't be, like even down to the kind of the types of material which the building is going to be made out of. The venue support team can create really technical objections through the strength of our incredible voluntary gurus, who are all people up and down the UK who give their time to the charity because they love live music and they love going out to grassroots music venues. So we've got this team of incredible experts in town planning and buildings and people who know acoustics and licensing back to front. And so we look at the planning portal, we look at the plans, we start to build what we feel we understand of the data, and then we take it to the gurus and then we say, are we right in thinking this noise report doesn't look right because of X, Y, Z? You know, we're building lots of in-house expertise. Like, I had no expectation of becoming in any way knowledgeable about the planning system before I started for MBT, but yeah, we'll fight that one again because it's just not good enough.
No. And you've also got, I think, a case in Kent involving PPL and PRS, which I think these sorts of disputes are coming in quite thick and fast at the moment.
Yeah, they absolutely are. They are often just based on estimations, or there might be kind of some dispute about receiving lots of billing all in one go, which is suddenly out of the blue, and it's often kind of communication and technical errors or misunderstandings, which then we need to go out and just try and unpick and sort and bring to a kind of mediated solution so that we can make sure that the pressure of receiving a big bill isn't going to be the thing that closes a venue. Can we make sure that it's accurate, agree a payment plan, and make sure that payment plan isn't going to put a venue at risk? Because fundamentally songwriters need to be paid, but they want to know that the songwriters are getting paid because it's accurate, and that the venue isn't going to be, if a venue closes, then nobody in that area is going to get paid, and none of those songwriters are going to get paid.
Well put. Yeah, we'll continue to... yeah, well put. Well done. We'll also continue to challenge, those disputes and the licensing process in general until it works properly for small venues. So it's a slow process, but we're now working collectively across the sector to get fairer, clearer systems in place.
Well, I think that's the kind of... that's definitely the strength of the charity, in that we have individual support which then ties into a wider understanding of what's happening. And PRS with stuff like that, if we learn one thing about how one person's bill has been put together, then we can see what issues might have happened similarly with other places. With planning, when we have a win, we can use it as case precedent. We had a case with the Seabright Arms in London, it was a few years ago, whilst I was still the England coordinator with Jay, and we were able to prove through the noise impact report that had been done, which had been done really poorly, that the developer was basically left with no way of building the flat to the kind of cost spec that they wanted to, without saying that the windows basically needed to be permanently shut. Wow. And so then when we said, that's you can't control that unless you're planning on having them permanently shut, then there's absolutely no way of controlling a person's behaviour. If they want to open the windows because they feel like the ventilation system isn't good enough, or they burn some toast, or they personally don't like ventilation because it makes their throat scratchy or whatever, people are going to open their window. It's a natural thing. And when the planning officer, in responding to the objections that had been received from the venue, from MVT and from others, and then they really, really latched onto that point about the fact that the windows would basically never be able to be opened without creating taking over the threshold of suitable noise, impact of noise. They worded it really, really brilliantly and said that it would create a kind of unreasonable and oppressive environment, completely taking on board our technical points. And so now, whenever we see the same thing put in another planning application, whether again saying that the windows need to be closed in order to kind of reach the noise thresholds, then we put in like verbatim this planning officer's wording, like, because it's basically like a case study, and they take that really seriously. Other local authorities will take other kind of like their peers' expertise into account. So that individual kind of support can tie into greater change for the membership, and I think that's a real strength of the charity in which we work with, like lots of kind of departmental strands.
Thank you. So we're just going to move into our third segment, which is about campaigns and community wins. So first of all, a huge congratulations to the Boileroom in Guildford, because they have just had their 19th birthday.
Amazing.
Which is huge for a venue, isn't it? I mean, obviously the Met just had its 50th, which is unheard of, I think.
Was it 50th or 40th?
I think it was the 50th, yeah. But yeah, 19 years is amazing. That's incredible. It's a big milestone. And they've hosted lots of artists like Sam Fender and Kate Nash and Wolf Alice and Declan McKenna, which just proves how essential they are as a grassroots music venue in their local area, especially for artist development. It's a really great example of sustained community-led impact.
Yeah.
We're also highlighting the Keeping Music Live tour, which is from Waterbear College Music, which will raise money for MVT through shows and venues across the country, from Hull all the way to Sheffield, Manchester to Brighton.
It's amazing.
Going all over the place. It's wicked.
Yeah, Mark, our CEO, went and spoke at their graduation ceremony last week as well, didn't he?
Oh, nice.
So,
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
It's lovely.
I'm sure. I'm sure.
Did I make that up? I'm not sure. But it gives students and emerging artists a real taste of life on the grassroots circuit, which is supporting venues and making those opportunities possible, which is a cool thing.
Yeah.
Another huge story is the Ferret in Preston has unveiled plans to expand into the rest of its historic mill building, creating the new 350 capacity space, recording studios and podcast suites.
Yeah.
I was really lucky enough to go and visit the Ferret, when it was taken into community ownership, and it is such an incredible space.
I really want to go.
It's a brilliant team. It's got a great vibe. It's got a lovely stage, and the upstairs area did feel like there was so much potential for it. So it's really exciting to see how they're expanding.
I think that's such a kind of testament to what community ownership can do, and such a powerful kind of like case for MVP, Music Venue Properties, to show how bringing a venue into kind of like permanent, stable community ownership can be building the foundations for something which is going to give back, 100-fold and indefinitely into the community. So it's amazing. It's such a kind of powerful and brilliant story that kind of really underpins what community ownership and what MVP can do. And I mean, I remember at the start of that when the team phoned Jay and sent us an email early one morning because they'd come into work and seen the for sale sign on the front of the building.
I mean, that was 18 months ago.
Was it only 18 months ago?
So, I mean, it just really shows you how much has changed. It was only 18 months ago that it was under threat, and it was saved through 2.5 million in community share offers, led by our lovely colleagues at Music Venue Properties. So,
that's wild.
With support from Preston City Council.
Yeah, I can't believe that was only 18 months ago. But shows how transformational that can be.
And that's exactly what we want to see, venues becoming multi-use cultural hubs with long-term security.
Yeah.
It's amazing. And we also shared a new video with Liveline Fund and Save Our Scene explaining the Grassroots Levy, because the levy is such an important part of our work, that we've been campaigning for a long time. And so being able to communicate that to the general public and have them understand, that it's not a donation, it's a levy, and how it's been achieved and why it's essential for sustainability of live music. I think that was a really helpful way of communicating it, and I think it's been received and engaged with very well.
I think people are really getting it. I mean, the fan voice survey was like 93% of people said that they supported the levy and the £1 additionally. They just, they want to know what it's going towards. And so the more that we can say, this is what the money has done already, or this is how we are already supporting music venues, and this is the impact that it's having, like, it's resonating because it's making such a massive difference, and it's only gonna get better.
Well, it's an absolute game changer. I think it's about creating a system where large scale events contribute directly to the grassroots infrastructure.
Yeah, and it's research and development, like levy. It's about recognizing how grassroots music venues have been the research and development hub of the music industry for so long, and taking us from, everybody knows that venues are under threat, and I think that's come through like really, really powerful campaigning by Music Venue Trust over very many years. And it's kind of, we've got a solution, we're showing how it works, we're showing how it will work and what we're already doing. I think it's really exciting.
And this is how we build a self-sustaining ecosystem as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, and lastly, before I end the episode, I just want to say that we had the first ever Grassroots Networking Day this week with AIP, I should probably not say that, the Association of Independent Promoters and the Association of Independent Festivals, two organisations that we work closely with, bringing together venues, agents, promoters and festivals for real-world connection. And it was fantastic, wasn't it?
It was brilliant.
Absolutely packed. The panels were brilliant. People were engaging.
Yeah.
Connections were being made. Yeah.
I think it was really timely and people found it incredibly valuable. I mostly spoke to the venues, but it was really nice because there was the emphasis on networking around booking the show. Then we got to meet lots of other people because it meant that the people who, like maybe the face of the venue and the day-to-day running, sent people who were their promoters and their bookers. So I got to meet loads of people, like the kind of next generation of staff coming up, which was amazing. I think anytime when you get people together and they realise that they're not alone in the challenges that they're facing, or they get to kind of have quite candid discussions about their roles in the industry, there was a lot of kind of like, promoter to receiving house, be it the venue or the festival, to the agent, and kind of unpicking, what do you do? How do I do my role? Like, what's your perception of our place in the industry? It was really powerful stuff.
It was powerful. I agree with you. It was lovely to see people build relationships beyond Zoom, because it's just not the same thing, is it?
Oh, no. Yeah, absolutely not.
And, there were some incredible conversations between, different groups where you just thought this just wouldn't be happening in a normal setting. Okay. So it was just lovely to see the coming together of the whole network and see it strengthen together. So thank you so much for joining me on this episode today. It's been lovely.
It's always nice.
Thank you. And, if you want to support MVT, we've got the supporters circle where you can join for up to £5 a month. It helps fund the venue support team specifically.
Helps us do what we do.
Exactly, which is brilliant. If you want to support venues, go down to your local venue, watch the support band, buy something at the bar, maybe pick up some merch. And, thank you so much for watching. Like, subscribe, all of that jazz. And this has been The Last Safe Space with Music Venue Trust. And let's support our local music scenes and keep the lights on.